Did you see where Jay-Z and Beyonce's daughter, Blue Ivy?
Surprised, man. I actually met Beyonce before. That was one of the people be like, who you done met? You know what I'm saying? That like it threw you out, like it took you back. Like, you know what I'm saying? Beyonce, she I was at a party at Diddy crib in LA. This was the beginning of 2020.
I said, well, he busy right now. He said, he busy doing what? I said, he with Puff. They're in the room, they busy, they don't want to be bothered. He said, well, I'm going in there. I said, bruh, you ain't going in there because he told me they don't want nobody to be bothering them. He was like, yo, I don't care, man. I'm going in there. That bull like that. I said, yo, bruh, Jesus Christ had to come down here and take the air out of my body before you get in that room right there. Watch. He tried to bum rush me. I grabbed him and threw him against the piano. When I threw him into the piano, Puff and Ja Rule runs out the room. Puff got his towel, Ja grabbing his towel, but they
Diddy engaged for 10 years or so in a kind of criminal enterprise, running a criminal enterprise where he would get these women to allegedly get involved in these so-called freak-offs against their will. The other counts are less serious. That racketeering count carries with it life imprisonment, but these other counts are about maximum 15 years, including trafficking and engaging transportation to use in prostitution.
When you was around Diddy, did you ever see him put his hands on Jennifer Lopez?
Well, he didn't do any violence to Mrs. J-Lo. That's why I didn't see any violence. It's a different breed, bro. He wasn't gonna risk himself like that. And plus, a lot of people didn't like him. J-Lo mother didn't like him. Benny Medina didn't like him. You understand? So now, the first thing, if he would have ever touched Miss Lopez in any kind of aggressive way, she would have said something, man, listen to me. The whole Bronx would have been on Puff. He didn't treat her like that, bro. He didn't do none of that old crazy stuff, that play fight, that beating them with pillows and all that other shit like that, smothering them and, you know, doing that childish shit. He didn't do that. I never seen him do that with Miss Lopez at all. So it's a different class. You know, he knew that she was an actress, she was a singer, songwriter, whatever like that, all her accolades. He did put her on a pedestal, but he still was seeing Kim, but he put her on a pedestal. So I don't think that she had those experiences. And then, you know, people only do what you let them do. If he would have did that to her, he would only had one time. You see, when he ran out the club and left her after that shooting at China, she ain't want to be with him no more. Yo, he left her. You know what I mean? So he wasn't gonna treat her like, he was treating the rest of them.
Tell me the story about how Puffy wanted to fight Will Smith over Jennifer Lopez.
Oh man. We were at a birthday party that I think either Matt Damon was giving for Ben Affleck. It was just a little gathering. It was at the Four Seasons. Will Smith and his sister and her husband, we were all sitting on this side of the room. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, Puff, Will Smith, and Jada, and they were sitting on the other side of the room. So I know Puff so well that he stood up. When he stood up, he walked and did his arm some kind of way, and then he went like this, and I went over towards him. I know to go over there towards him. So I go over towards him, and he said to me, he said, yo, I think Will and Jada is trying to scoop up Jennifer. I want you to stay close, because I'm going to snuff him. I said to myself, Will Smith gonna beat the shit out. Now, Puff could scrap now, but I don't think he could beat Will Smith. You know what I'm saying? But he could scrap. You know what I'm saying? So then he said that shit. So I didn't go back over there where Will Smith's sister and her husband was. I stayed about, if he snuffed Will, I could move slow enough that Will could probably get 2 or 3 punches back in. Yeah, but that's funny. He thought that Jada and Will was coming on too strong to Jennifer, making advances.
There is one term that has gone viral since the indictment of Sean Diddy Combs more than anything else. You've heard it here on Sidebar, you've heard it amplified in the media. It is called a freak-off. This alleged performance that is at the center of this criminal case facing the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs. And I'm going to go over some of the details of these freak-off sessions as laid out in the government's indictment and in their subsequent letters that they filed with the court when they argued against Combs' bail, which, by the way, was denied twice. Now, he's currently locked up in the Brooklyn Detention Center. Combs is facing charges of racketeering conspiracy trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, transportation to engage in. We've mentioned it before, but he could be looking at 15 years to life in prison. That's how serious these charges are. But the main theme here, the main allegation, is that Combs led a criminal enterprise. And the goal of this criminal enterprise, other than to operate a global media and entertainment business, was to engage in the of women, trafficking, forced labor, the distribution of drugs, to use violence and threats, to commit crimes like kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice, to carry out their goals, their missions, all the while making sure to satisfy the desires of Sean Combs. And one of those desires, as alleged by the government, by prosecutors, and also alleged by several Combs accusers in separate civil lawsuits that they filed against him, were the commission of freakoffs. So with that in mind, now we're going to get into these shocking details surrounding these freakoffs. And I guess we should start with saying, what are freakoffs, right? Well, let's go to the indictment. It says, quote, Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs' role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship. Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended acts with male commercial workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freakoffs. Freakoffs were elaborate and produced performances that Combs arranged, directed, pleasured himself during, and often electronically recorded. Now, while this indictment came down, I said at the time, this may be a term that is foreign to any person that was not familiar with Sean Combs, but for me, who's been following this whole saga for, a year now, I have heard this term multiple times, because in the Cassandra Ventura lawsuit, Combs' ex-girlfriend, and Rodney Little Rod Jones lawsuit, this is Combs' former producer, they discussed the freakoffs in their lawsuits. Now, Ventura alleged, among other things, that Combs would demand her participation in freakoffs and that she would have to be forced to hire the male workers, and that this could happen at any random moment.